The Blackbordered, one of the most coveted medals in BTD6. People agonize and spend hours, if not days, trying to achieve this single illustrious medal, the highest magnitude of monkey popping power that this world can possibly allow you to wield. What is it, and how do we get it? Chimps, and I'm not referring to my nickname in high school, but what is one of the hardest game modes in BTD6. In this game mode, you're not allowed to use any continues, no hearts lost, no additional income, no monkey knowledge allowed, no powers, and then to top it all off, no selling. That's a lot. This proves to be one of the ultimate challenges in BTD6. Now, pre-version 41, you can cheese this by exiting the game, and if you exited and re-entered, no harm was done, and you can technically still beat the game. After version 41, they made it even easier for you to do this, so now you don't even have to exit. Instead, you can technically just continue right away by retrying the last round, essentially getting rid of the continue. A good quality of life update if you ask me, but there's one big problem with this. Remember that this game mode is called Chimps, C for continue. It's not called Himps. If you ever decided to use this cheap method or this retry last round, you were punished. You were given a gold border with a red Chimps badge. To achieve a black border, you need to do all the above without closing the game, which means if you don't beat it on the first try, you need to start all over again. On a quick side note, I know this is a monkey themed game and so it's called Chimps, but if you rearrange the letters like this, I just couldn't help but notice that Ninja Kiwi's trying to tell us something, you know? Anyways, there seems to be two sides of the coin here. Now, I can make this a short video and be on side A, but there's a severe problem with side A. You call this Blackbordered? Huh? Last time I checked, this wasn't very black, and it sounds more like a I'm too lazy to complete the rest of the game modes and want to validate myself border. In order to achieve a true black border, you need to beat all 14 game modes on the map, and earning such a prize doesn't come easy. And I think the hardest part of the game modes aren't even Chimps, which again is very difficult, but instead the mindless grinding that no one wants to do. This is because each game mode is difficult and unique in its own way. While new maps get released, there are a few individuals that actually do already have the maximum number of black borders in the game, but it doesn't come without months, maybe even years of time, sweat, and monkey carnage. I know what you're asking me, Raxor, I already know all this. I'm a veteran BTD6 player, or maybe I literally just bought the game yesterday. Who knows? All I care about is how long does it possibly take for me to be able to black border every single map in the game. Well, worry not, my beloved viewer. I've gone ahead and wasted my life for you so that you don't have to. This will be slightly more casual in some sense, so you get an accurate estimation on how long it takes. Oh, and if you're new here, please consider subscribing. I know it's a very cliche YouTube thing to say, but this run, as you will see shortly, took me to complete, and a lot of editing, scripting on top of that. Subscribing is free and really helps out a small YouTuber as myself out. Although, I don't know if I'm small anymore since I hit 10k recently after my longest video. If you don't enjoy the videos, you can always unsubscribe later. So on July 6, 2024, I start. And we go from a brand new save file because, well, I'm taking no shortcuts. And we'll start right from the beginning with we got a lot of ground to cover, so let's get right into it. To make this as friendly as possible for everyone, I will not be spending any real money on in-game purchases. Oh, but if you do decide to, don't forget to use code RAXOR in the BTD6 shop. But hold up. Rax, you have 2x cash mode and you bought the Mr. Beast pack?
Brother,
Okay, I got these from my original account before, and this new account I created somehow got benefits from my main account as it's connected to my main Steam profile. So to make things fair, I will turn off 2x cash mode and will actually spend all of the 10k monkey money you get from the Mr. Beast pack so I don't end up using anything on accident. We'll just buy a power that I won't use at all, and even if I did on accident, it won't really make a difference. So just for reference,
One eternity later.
ta-da! 200 portable lakes. Now, in terms of timing, I'm gonna base the time of this complete run on my recordings. I know this seems a little bit off. I could splice my runs to be very exact and just take each of the successful runs. However, I'm trying to simulate real life as well. I will also show you a second time, which is how long it actually took me to finish from start to finish. Mind you, I have a life, other events going on, so I would love to just take a vacation and sit in front of my computer for days, if not weeks, just playing mindless monkey games, but I just don't have the time for that, let alone the mental brain capacity to last. For each section, we're going to talk about a topic of interest and some of the maps that gave me the most trouble, with the exception of some harder game modes, which will focus only on maps. Oh yeah, and if you don't believe that I did this full run, or that I cheated or anything by speeding things up, I'm gonna upload a fully unedited version of all of my recordings into one video. I don't think anyone in their right mind will watch the whole thing, but I don't know, maybe you will, who knows? Anyways, let's start this behemoth of a project. We start with easy mode. Easy will be, well, it'll be easy. How the game mode works is you play with the cheapest prices that the game has to offer you. After you beat the first 40 rounds, you're able to win. So as we get this underway, we have a few topics to cover as well. We'll talk about them while we do easier maps, because the easier maps are pretty repetitive and redundant. So being on a new save file, there's actually quite a few things to worry about. So let's talk about experience first. The way that BTD6 works is that the more of a certain tower you put down in any game, the more experience that tower will gain. Since this is a fresh file, we need to grind up experience for all of our towers. However, not all of them will really need to be used. To speed things up, we'll focus on towers that can clean up maps very fast, and that would happen to be snipers. Snipers are essentially going to carry about 75 to 80% of this massive Blackbordered run. I believe that most, if not all maps, especially early on, can essentially be completed with snipers, maybe an alk or a village. Obviously, we know that not every game mode can allow for snipers, the biggest two being primary only and magic monkeys only. Subs will also be a godsend, and to be honest, everything will get experience over time and we'll most likely use everything at some point or another. In fact, I think if anything, I'll tell you what towers we won't be using. And to be honest, that's only one. The one tower we won't really be using is supers. Supers are just a bit too expensive, and you know, you need stuff that usually has some sort of global range, and that won't cost me an arm and a kidney, you feel me? Next up, let's get into monkey knowledge. Not all monkey knowledge is created equal. We'll be gunning for some of the stronger ones, and everything else will come with time. The most important ones to start are actually all in the primary category. These are the bottom three: the free dart, the free glue, and the bonus 200 starting cash. These will help propel our runs so much. So after level 30, when monkey knowledge becomes available, we'll focus on getting these up as soon as possible. In the military category, we'll focus on getting military consumption, which will be extremely important. This knowledge allows the first military tower to be 2/3 the cost of the original price. You may notice a small trend with these monkey knowledges as well, and it's that most of them will help provide some sort of early cash, extra discounts of some sort. Won't be important on Chimps, where the M comes into play for the monkey knowledge, but it's still good for other game modes. You can also argue that some monkey knowledge will help with decreasing costs for some towers, and you're absolutely right. We'll focus on getting overall global benefits and then worry about individual towers bit by bit, unless the tower's monkey knowledge just so happens to get picked along the way. And spoilers, by the time this run is completely done, we're gonna be getting all the monkey knowledge anyway, so it doesn't even matter. In magic monkey knowledge, magic mana shield is going to be pretty clutch as well. Magic mana shields provide 25 HP shields that have the potential to regen over time. After you hit one round without losing a life, you will regain 5 HP. In free play, it's pretty useless, but in normal games, this is absolutely valuable. in sometimes keeping us alive and being the difference between winning a game and even losing a game. Support, there isn't really anything too noteworthy, so we'll again get these over time, but still prioritizing the ones I mentioned earlier. And now, hero monkey knowledge. We will be getting empowered heroes ASAP. Instant level 3 heroes at the beginning of the game is very clutch. Most heroes will get their abilities by level 3, and so having an early free ability is very crucial. One more monkey knowledge we will actually focus on is pre-game prep road spikes. An extra set of spikes on every track makes for some easier gameplay, especially on these harder maps. After playing for a while, we end up beating all of the easy maps with a strategy most consisting of Quincy and snipers with a few exceptions here and there. We finish easy in 6 hours, 52 minutes, and 31 seconds. Again, as a small reminder, I'm going to base this off the recorded time. If you notice that there's some moments where I sort of pause and explore my monkey knowledge, and you honestly think you can do this faster, by all means, go for it. Now, let's move on to primary only. One thing that I'll start to notice before I enter primary only is that sometimes I'll accidentally press easy mode instead of primary and accidentally do some runs like this. This is my fault. What's wrong with me? I don't know. I'm talking to myself right now. Why did I do that? Primary only, as the game implies, means that we can only use primary towers to defeat the first 40 rounds. These are dart, boomer, bong, glue, tack, and ice. Not much of a challenge. Primary only will essentially be mostly tacks, maybe some darts. We'll actually also worry about getting a moab assassin. The moab assassin can insta-kill the moab on round 40, so it'll help us progress just a little bit faster, even if it's a few seconds. So with that in mind, let's get into our second topic, which is heroes. When you start a brand new save file, you are automatically given 4 free heroes: Quincy, Striker, Oben, and Gwen. We're only really going to be using a few select heroes for most of these runs. The first 2 heroes we're going to use and talk about that are free are Quincy and Oben. So Quincy will probably use quite a fair bit until we can afford Soda, but even then Quincy will be used a lot. Quincy provides a lot of quick, reliable damage to start and is pretty cheap. Quincy also has the ability to pop essentially every single balloon in the game. Oben will be a godsend for magic monkeys and some chimp strats as well. A Apopalypse army with Avatar of Wrath is insanely strong, one of the strongest strategies in the game. And we can even pair Oben with some ninjas, which will also be super easy for us to pull off. Now the rest of the heroes here will cost some monkey money, which definitely suck, but we'll get to monkey money in a minute. The heroes that cost money, however, that we will use are the following: Soda, Churchill, Geraldo, Sai, and Admiral Brickle. Now Soda is super great for overall damage. I like to think of Soda as similar to Quincy, but depending on the map can be a little bit stronger. Soda is super great for overall damage and has a lot of similarities to Quincy in the fact that Soda can pop essentially all balloons. Churchill will be gone essentially for deflation. Although Churchill's considered the most expensive hero, definitely makes up for it for the amount of damage that Churchill can dish out. However, there's some maps where we have multi-lane, and multi-lane will be quite an issue. For those maps, Churchill does not excel, and so we'll switch over to Sai. Now Sai is a godsend here. For context, most heroes need line of sight, to hit the balloons. However, Sai literally says, I don't give up, and can shoot through walls with infinite range. This is amazing for maps where there are some blockers such as Dark Dungeon, and Sai also has good stunning and one-shotting capabilities as well. Admiral Brickle will be here simply for Flooded Valley and some water maps. Flooded Valley is one of the harder water maps, and so we usually need a hero that can sort of fit the bill. I know that Pat Fusty also does, but sorry, I don't like Pat Fusty. However, none of these heroes compare to the most broken hero in the game, Geraldo. Geraldo? I think it's Geraldo. I don't know the proper pronunciation, so I'm sorry in advance. Geraldo has it all. A shop with literally anything you can think of. Yes, please. It was one of the few towers that used to be able to one-tower Chimps when it was first released. NK realized their mistake. and they decide to nerf his prices into the ground and decrease how strong he was, decrease how effective any of his items were, and even nerf after nerf, he is still one of the strongest heroes in the game. It's ridiculous. Geraldo is also essentially the main reason why towers can get 2 mega pops in the first place. Crazy stuff. There are some use cases for the other heroes as well, but I'll get around to them if I'm really bored and want to play with some other heroes. If I missed your favorite hero, don't worry. If I have enough monkey money later on, I might get around to it. For example, I know Corvus is also good as well, but to be honest, I don't really use Corvus enough to understand how to use effectively. I'm too lazy to micro, but apparently not too lazy to blackborder every single map of the game, so I guess I have a weird definition of lazy. As we finish up primary only, the expert maps start giving us a little bit more trouble, as most of the maps can't really be cheesed with any global towers since there aren't really any global range towers in primary only, especially for these multi-lane maps. But we eventually finished with a time of 6 hours, 40 minutes, and 59 seconds. Adding this to our overall time, we are now 13 hours, 33 minutes, and 30 seconds deep. And we haven't even completed all the easy modes yet. Now we start with the last of our easy mode, which is... So Deflation is one of the more interesting and personally one of my favorite game modes. I wish they had this on a harder difficulty because as a game mode, it's quite intriguing. The idea where you have starting cash of 20,000 with no ability to make any more cash mid-round. With the cash you have, you're required to beat rounds 31 to 60. An interesting, but I think a great challenge. I wish they had this on hard for 40k, maybe around 61 to 100. I think that would be very interesting and a very fun challenge. As we also complete these, we'll also have some, I think they're gold, but I think they're also supposed to be bronze.
I'm blind, Carl, not stupid.
I don't know. We'll have some borders, a nice addition in which I think NK always does well for its game and its community. For Deflation, there isn't going to be too many strategies, and it's going to be more or less throwing Churchill unless there's a map that requires a bit more micro or some sort of multi-lane. And so a new strategy I will start to use quite a bit, actually starting to use aces. Never Miss is probably one of the best towers to ensure you win and gets the job done fairly well, especially again for maps with multi-lanes. We need global damage, and some maps are also not sniper friendly. Now most maps won't be a problem, but as we get into Glacial Trail, which will prove to be the first problem map here, let's talk about a few of these problem maps. These specifically are Dark Dungeon and Ravine. The other expert maps, in my opinion, are difficult, but definitely not as bad. There may be some multi-lane maps with some of them also converging, but let's talk about these two specifically. Dark Dungeon is a 4-lane map, with balloons coming all at once from the bottom 3 lanes. The top lane is for moabs, and the middle lane will spawn moabs as well. The thing that makes this map terrifying is the walls. They hinder a lot of the global damage you would otherwise appreciate, and you will need a lot of towers that could either look over walls or pixel perfect strategy. The thing that's very difficult is that you want to juggle the proper amount of damage everywhere. Since there'll be leads coming, you need all 3 lanes to have lead popping power, not just one. Same thing with camos and every other type of balloon. I know you can simply just say, just get some camos from Geraldo and an Alk and you're good, you know? And you're probably right. You'll probably see that a lot here. Dark Dungeon in particular, I will probably end up dying a lot as well. Just a bit of hint of foreshadowing, and we'll probably use some monkey money just to pass. I never said that we couldn't use it, and for the sake of moving forward and just completion, we'll do everything we can that is still allowed within the game. Otherwise, we're going to be here for an eternity trying to clean up most just random maps. Now Ravine is another difficult map, with 4 lanes where 2 come out at a time, 4 obscenely large walls in the way, covering most line of sight. And then not only that, the water here is also terrible, because normally water is goated, but in this instance the water is low, so water towers usually can't really see anything. Real downer if you ask me. Also, this map, similar to Dark Dungeon, but the tracks themselves are pretty spread out and it's sort of chaotic. It's a nice map design, but definitely one of the harder maps. As a small insert, I also do want to make a small honorable mention to Glacial Trail for a unique feature. So Glacial Trail itself isn't hard. The map itself, it reminds me of Skate and Another Brick combined to have this weird glacial baby. Again, the wall isn't the problem, the water isn't the problem, it's the unique characteristic of this map. So every 10 rounds, your tower will be frozen for about 2 of them. So for example, you place a tower on round 1, on round 10 and 11, you're frozen, and this tower is unable to attack. The only tower exception is Ice Monkeys. In this instance, we'll need to focus on getting Permaspike for a lot of the runs. It'll help retain damage and usually will stay quite long on the field. But I'm getting carried away. Maps aside, there are even some generic maps on Advanced that I think are quite difficult in comparison to some of the harder maps. I know it's a bit of a hot take, but I'm looking at you, Geared. After quite some time, we finished with a time of 8 hours, 11 minutes, and 1 second, bringing our grand total to 21 hours, 44 minutes, and 31 seconds. With Easy finally completed in under a day of recording, it's time for us to proceed into the next section. As we get into medium only, I have a confession to make. I went on a trip. How dare you enjoy the pleasantries of life and not give yourself up to a slave of Bloons Tower Defense 6? Do you have no shame? Nah, but in all seriousness, I went on a bachelor trip and it was wild. We went to Vegas, boys.
Let's go gambling!
Holy crap, I cannot understate how hot it is to go in Vegas in July. Actually, I'll tell you. It was like Mesa, okay? It's literally a desert there. I will say the canyons were cool and exploring around the area for the most part was just nice to get my mind off things. I'm also not really a gambling fanatic, so while casinos are fun to explore and experience, I also found that it got boring pretty quickly. I'm personally more of a sort of explore cool natures or architectures kind of guy. Oh, and also, you know, it is very hot, and so there was one day where me and the guys wanted to go swim, but someone ended up taking a massive doo-doo in the pool, so you know, we couldn't go in. Anyways, pool shitters aside, I eventually made it out alive. I had a good week off to sort of chill or literally roast myself and not think about the balloons. But now it's time to get back on the grind. Anyways, back to medium only, and this is where things slowly start to ramp up. Most bosses are done in this game mode, probably being the standard game mode for all game modes. Only real difference is that things are a bit more expensive. Not much more, but a little bit more. The game modes go by pretty quickly, nothing really of note as it's essentially the same as easy. So speaking of Vegas and BTD6, let's talk about monkey money, because clearly monkey relates to Vegas and BTD with money.
Are you serious?
Monkey money is going to be essential in a few parts. Getting all the respective heroes we need, some of them cost as low as 2.5k, upwards of 7k, which is quite expensive, especially for the stronger ones I mentioned earlier, such as Geraldo. We will only be getting monkey money from clearing rounds. You don't have to do any of the achievements or anything else, to be honest. You will get all the money you need just from beating the regular game. This should be more than enough, but another teeny tiny way to develop a little bit more is that there's an achievement as well which allows you to get 10% more monkey money as well. I actually forgot about this and I should have included it. I eventually get this later on, so we'll get a lot. Now, if heroes were the only things we have to worry about, that's not an issue. But as of update 15, Ninja Kiwi decided to include a paywall. I know, ridiculous. Any row below the 4th row needs 250 monkey money, row 5 and below 500, and row 6 a whopping 1000 monkey money. Even though we don't need too much knowledge, it's still beneficial to have everything if possible. After some crucial heroes and some crucial monkey knowledge, we'll try to fill up the rest and see if we have any excess cash. The last one, which might seem a bit cheap but is part of the game as well, is actually continues. If I ever lose a round, then having the option to continue with monkey money, especially on game modes that allow it, is actually wonderful. At the end of the day, I mentioned that I won't be spending any real cash at all, but in game modes other than Chimps, if it's allowed and will help us theoretically just beat these game modes faster, I'm gonna allow it. I know a lot of you could say like, oh, you should have just done it in one go, but to be honest, it's part of the game. It's how Ninja Kiwi designed it to be. And finally, alongside that, toward the harder rounds, we'll start to buy a ton of cash drops as well. Just to make things a lot easier to afford, I end up using a lot of monkey money on cash drops later, especially on the harder game modes. You will see eventually. If I really start running out of monkey money, some options that I have will be to replay some game modes, even complete some of the side quests that also have some cash. There are achievements that do provide some monkey money as well. Of course, I don't want to rely on achievements and quests as well because this does distract from completing more medals, but if push comes to shove, I will do anything required to get more monkey money if necessary. After completing medium, we finish with a time of 11 hours, 29 minutes, and 7 seconds, bringing us to a whopping 33 hours, 13 minutes, and 38 seconds. Now let's get on to my favorite strategy. From here on out, we're going to start speeding things up, because there really isn't too much to talk about. It's more or less the same, with small exceptions of some game mode variations. Ah yes, military only. Primary only's older brother. We're forced to use military towers with any hero of your choice. However, as you've noticed by now, I've only been really using aces or snipers, so yeah, this was honestly a walk in the park. Hardly any issues, and occasionally would play around with some mortar towers because I sort of felt like it. And actually by this point of the game, you may have noticed that the last section on medium took a bit longer to complete than it did easy. And the reason's this. Basically, if you go from rounds 1 to 60 instead of just rounds 1 to 40, turns out it's longer. Wow, who would have known? When we reach hard, it'll go up to rounds 80, even 100 at times, with a lot of potentials to fail as well. So if you think we're gonna finish this in a few days, after USAing all over the plastic inflatables, we finally complete military only with 10 hours, 51 minutes, and 12 seconds. Now sitting at a solid 44 hours, 4 minutes, and 5 seconds. Only 4 hours away from 2 full days of playing. But now we hop onto our next run. Apocalypse is one of the harder but interesting game modes in my opinion. You will soon see that I will start to fail some runs. As a side note disclaimer, I am by no means a good BTD6 player. I think to myself to be someone who's a bit more persistent rather than skilled, and I guarantee you that I will attempt things that 99% of people don't want to attempt with a 10-foot pole. But I like doing these things because I sort of brute force my way into it until I eventually figure it out. Anyways, as we run into Apopalypse, there's no clear idea on when rounds sort of start and end. Everything kind of blurs and rounds just keep coming out. You're thrown into a never-ending constant barrage of balloons. Balloons come at a quicker rate. Camos come around 19 instead of 23. Leads come around 20 instead of 28. And we need to get some good defense up here pronto. Most of the strategies are more or less the same. This time I'll use a lot of water towers when possible, but I'll also use a lot of wizards as well. Wizards are good camo and lead popping power with a 022 or 012. I tend to find they're super good early, and I usually find that purple balloons are not really an issue. Oh, and something that's very useful here if you do want to finish every single map on Apopalypse is take advantage of lead to gold and rubber to gold. Lead to gold will get you so much money because there are a ton of leads on Apopalypse, which can really help you generate so much cash very quickly. Thankfully, by this point, most of my towers have most of the upgrades needed. Now, as I work on this map, I want to provide another small life update. I know most of you are probably here from my highest round video, but thanks to all the new bunch of you that have subscribed. The reason why I decided to upload this video today and not earlier, to be honest, is probably because today's my wedding day. So if you're here watching this, literally on the day that this is released, I'm probably in the process of getting married this very instant. Unless you're watching like a few days later or a few months later, then I'm already married. Woohoo! The reason I bring this up is for one purpose. She's been super supportive of me playing this game and would occasionally even let me play over helping her wedding plan. And I'm extremely grateful. Now, don't get me wrong, I do my fair share of stuff as well. But having a partner that is this supportive is a serious blessing in my life. I mean, seriously, it's a game about monkeys and balloons. Who's supporting this in 2024? Like, the other day on a separate run, she told me that the airplanes from the sun temples look like croissants. Now I can't unsee the croissant plane. Oh no! Get croissant. So, to be honest, from me to you, you gotta thank Mrs. Raxor. So thanks, Miss Raxor. This video is dedicated to her. I love you and thanks for always being there for me. Okay, sappy stuff completed. We finished Apopalypse with 10 hours, 20 minutes, and 23 seconds. Now a total of 54 hours, 25 minutes, and 13 seconds. And now we move on to It's the same in medium mode, but in reverse. Wow. Yeah, there isn't much to say about this one. But one nice thing is that now we get silver medals. By this point, you may have also noticed that we're half done. Well, a little under half, I believe. There's a total of 7 medals per map on easy, medium combined. Hard alone has 7 game modes as well, so once we finish this, technically speaking, we need a total of 1,050 medals, which we need to achieve. Yikes. At least we're halfway done? Sort of. So let's speed through the next few sections. We complete reverse in 10 hours, 57 minutes, and 59 seconds, for a total time of 65 hours, 23 minutes, and 12 seconds. Now, hard mode is nothing too interesting. It's just even more expensive, and instead of starting at round 1, we start at round 3. We finish on round 80 with the Zeonji class balloon, and the additions of rounds 61 to 80 is quite long now. These rounds just seem to take so much longer compared to every other round, and I think it's primarily due to the mold class balloons. To be honest, the BFBs and the Zeonji just getting slower, and they just come slow, and they have a lot of mold class balloons, and they're all slow. Everything's slow. Again, we keep this short and sweet because there isn't too much to talk about in terms of strategy. It's more or less the same with the occasional random mix-up of towers to keep my brain from rotting. This run itself took 16 hours, 55 minutes, and 57 seconds just for hard mode only. Yikes. It's literally almost taking me a full day just to complete one of these game modes. We've done this for a total of 82 hours, 19 minutes, and 9 seconds. Now, Magic Monkeys is pretty self-explanatory, except as we start Magic Monkeys, something happens. And that something just so happens to be Update 44. Yes, that's right. As we decide to start working on this massive run, Ninja Kiwi decide to drop the biggest bomb on my face, being Update 44. The new release of the Mer Monkey, and per every update, they release a new map. But new map aside, let's talk about the new Mer Monkey. I think it's fitting that it was released right as we are starting to do Magic Monkeys. Finally, a new water tower that isn't a military tower. Don't get me wrong, I still love my monkey subs and my boats, but this is a breath of fresh air that I've been waiting for so long. And I can tell you, as I'm writing the script after the fact, I love these new Mer Monkeys. I think they're honestly, they might be my new favorite tower in the game. To unlock Mer Monkey, we need to get a total of 3 million pops, which we'll slowly get during these runs. Then once we complete this, we'll also unlock and work on the new map, Luminous Cove. Due to my OCD, I want to bring this one up to speed as well, so I don't know, it just feels so wrong to leave it with no medals. So the minute I'm able to, I'll get Mer Monkey and I'll play with Mer Monkey on the new map. So as an FYI, this section might take a teeny bit longer, in particular due to the time it takes to complete this extra map with all the game modes. I am exceptionally excited for these Mer Monkeys. I'm especially excited to play with the bottom path, and I think with the ability to potentially make some track lengths longer, wink wink nudge nudge, you can probably see what I'm gonna try and go for here. Also with Top Path being able to play with water towers on land,
Excuse me.
around the tower itself is absurd. Also on top of that, both the top and bottom path improve range and pierce. Yeah, you're gonna see some pretty big changes here for the new longest and highest round. I end up being able to unlock all tier 5s during this run itself, and I must say, they're very fun. For the harder maps where open is not so great, we again will mix up the heroes and we'll use global towers, which we can afford, which is just Wizard Lord Phoenix at home, which is just summon Phoenix spam. I do use a lot of monkey money. If you're triggered for me using this, I'm not sorry. I have 100k monkey money at this point just from playing the game normally, and we're pretty good for a long time. We eventually finished Magic Monkeys only with a time of 19 hours, 24 minutes, and 49 seconds for a grand total of 101 hours, 43 minutes, and 58 seconds. Now, on to Now, surprisingly, this is where things start to get a little bit difficult. Not absolutely mind-blowingly difficult, where I need to go crazy, but just a little bit more annoying than anything. As the name implies, all rounds are exactly the same as hard, but the HP of the moabs are doubled, which means moabs now have 400 RBE, BFBs now have 1400, and ZOMGs have a whopping 14,000 RBE. One way you can easily cheese this is just using one-shotting towers. For example, Pirate Lord or even BMA. Also, you may notice that I do lose and then sort of leave the game on pause sometimes if you do end up watching the full VOD. It's because I'm probably in a meeting or probably trying to do something else on the side, so sometimes I can't fully pay attention to the game as well. We'll keep this short because other than me failing a bunch, we end up beating this with a time of 18 hours, 4 minutes, and 30 seconds. We are now 119 hours, 48 minutes, and 28 seconds. Just shy of 120 hours. 120 hours is literally 5 days of just working on this massive project, and I haven't even started Impoppable or Chimps, and oh my god, this is gonna take me a nightmarishly long time to complete. Time check, when I complete this part, it's been about a month or so. It's August 4th, and close to a month has passed. Yet there's still so much more to go, and my heart sinks as we now approach to what I believe is the hardest 4 game modes in this game. Okay, now let me show you how terrible of a BTD6 player I am. Half cash is exactly as it implies. As you play the rounds, instead of getting $1 per balloon popped, you get half of that. So you need to pop 2 to gain 1. Not only that, every source of income from end of round cash to powers or cash crates or farming is all half. I personally believe that half cash is one of the harder game modes. Something about very limited cash is just absolutely brutal. Thankfully, I can use a lot of monkey money here, but on a side note, if you did half cash plus chimps, that would literally be hell. I don't even know if that'd be possible. Maybe, actually, I don't know. I'm sure someone's done that, knowing how crazy people are out there, including myself. For this game mode, you will see a lot of fails. And I want to say that it's because I had a meeting, but to be honest, I just suck. I could have used easier strategies, and here I should have also realized that Spectre spam just gets everything done, especially for the harder maps. But I did not mention one thing. There's actually one thing that gets around half cash prices, and that's actually Geraldo's Quincy action figure. If you want to attempt finishing all these, it's a good strat to go ahead and use, because as you see here, the figure's sell value is not affected. Obviously, it's impractical to use on half cash and almost impossible to get, but if you just use one cash drop, then you can get it pretty quickly. I probably should have just done this strat instead of wasting all my money on continues, but it is what it is. For perspective, I practically used 50k worth of monkey money to try and clear everything as quick as possible. But we do end up finishing this in 18 hours, 34 minutes, and 2 seconds, putting us at a whopping 138 hours, 22 minutes, and 30 seconds. Now, on to alternate balloon rounds. Now says, haha, sorry, these are not the actual rounds, they're different. Generally, things are sort of doubled in power, or they just are altered in such a way that it becomes very difficult. For example, first camo shows up on round 5, the first lead on round 10. That is 23 rounds much earlier than the original lead round. The moab on round 40 is fortified, the BFB is as well on round 60. 63, normally you'd have a bunch of leads with a large ceramic wave, a total of 122, but on ABR instead, you get a nice mix. You get 40 ceramics, 30 fortified ceramics, and 40 camo ceramics with 5 moabs.
I'm in danger!
Difficulty does spike up quite a bit here, but also I personally believe that this game mode is not as hard, at least compared to half cash, and you see with great balloons comes greater amount of cash. The cost of these balloons didn't go down, so it turns out if you make the balloons bigger, they also drop more money for you to play with, essentially trivializing things pretty much. Money solves all our problems clearly. Towards the end of the maps, I do end up still using some cash drops, but not as much as half cash. Since we do have a lot of money, Flying Fortress and Spectre spam again, just to clear things with 0 micro, as I'm trying not to think as much as possible. We complete ABR much quicker with a time of 17 hours, 8 minutes, and 51 seconds, bringing our new total to 155 hours, 31 minutes, and 21 seconds. 168 hours, 7 days. We're rapidly approaching this mark, and we're most likely going to hit it in one of the longest and most terrifying challenges. Just when you thought the government couldn't take any more of the money, Impoppable prices show up, and it's even more expensive. Now you have to go all the way to round 100, and you only have 1 life. Thankfully, we have the road spikes to help us out, but still a daunting task. Rounds up to 80 were also pretty straightforward. But now, as we hit rounds 80 and 90, 80s are usually okay. Usually there's not too much of an issue with 80s. 90s, where DDTs start coming, and the really thick rounds of 98, 96, 94, those just start to become a huge issue. I can just outclass the capitalism with capitalism. Monkey money, baby, woohoo! So yeah, at this point, I realized that Flying Fortress is just pretty goated, and so we just, again, use Flying Fortress for everything. And here, we're still allowed to farm. Being able to farm is actually pretty nice because it just allows us to afford everything within reasonable time. Surprisingly, Impoppable is done in 21 hours, 15 minutes, and 34 seconds, bringing our now Chimps list time to 176 hours, 46 minutes, and 55 seconds. 7 days and 8 hours essentially. But now, the moment we've all been waiting for. All our maps are still silver. We're missing that last crucial medal to help finish, and the reason why this video even is in existence. Chimps. As we get into Chimps, I have to be very honest with you. I'm gonna end up using some guides here. Why, might you ask? I could sit there and try and throw myself into literally every BTD6 map and try and think on hours on end, but I strongly suggest not to do that. There's a huge community of just people that have already spent their blood, sweat, and tears into help coming up with these perfect guides for you and me, to be able to get these wonderful achievements yourself. This video is an overall general understanding on how long it takes to Blackborder every single map, including using guide. You will see that there are a lot of very specific placements and a lot of fails too. I'll shout out each creator that's guide I ended up using, so definitely go check them out. Oh, and one more small disclaimer. A strategy I use in this run might not be legitimate in the future per se. This specific patch, they decide to make Glaive Lord extremely overpowered. I don't know why, but that doesn't mean that in the future the strategy will work. because NK always updates costs, certain balance changes of some towers, so all that to say, go check out your small BTD6 creators. Show them some love as well. Maybe with enough love, they can be your favorite BTD6 creator as well. Easy maps, I'm not going to go over. They're pretty standard and can be done with pretty much most easy strategies, except for this weird resort chimps where I ended up dying because I'm really bad. I tried to do a 2-tower chimps for fun and ended up losing, so let's not do that again. On to intermediate maps. Luminous Cove with broken water towers is quite simple. Same thing with Sulphur Springs, and water towers, especially subs, are going to be very goated, as I mentioned in the beginning. Subs are probably one of the most common chimp starts, just considering how strong they are. For Water Park, I'm going to start using a guide because I suck. And why not? The first guide I'm going to use is from Punchy, a super easy guide. A prime plus Permaspike makes things super easy and simple. Next, we have Polyphemus. We fail a few attempts here, so I'll just end up using Inui's version with Oben and Avatar Wrath. He ends up going for Superstorm, which honestly kudos to him, but it's a bit overkill. So to make things super safe and just super simple, we'll go for Spirit of the Forest instead. For Covered Garden, we're going to use the Bloon strat, and it's going to be another Apache Prime with some Spike Storms, and you'll see very quickly that Apache Prime is actually quite a goated strat, especially for single lane maps. Quarry is quite simple with one ultimate path again, so I just do another Avatar Wrath strat. I don't really follow any guides here. Quiet Street, I decided to use a guide from Hero Gaming, another A Prime with Prince of Darkness. Bloonarius Prime, I think a little bit trickier. I don't think it's definitely not an expert map. I don't know if it's an advanced map, but it is one of the slightly trickier maps, but again, not absurdly difficult. But we're going to follow a strat from Grutham, similar in the sense that, again, Apache is goated and so is Prince of Darkness. Prince of Darkness also very useful because you don't have to target where the balloon spawns, especially on multi-lane maps. It'll automatically do it for you. Balance, super easy. Sada is a goat, and Tax is just very easy. Same thing with Encrypted. Not much to talk about here, and since most of the damage funnels in the middle, it's fairly easy. Bizarre, with the knowledge that Apache Prime and Pod are just OP, yeah, we're just gonna use that. And Adora's Temple, we use some global towers. Adora's Temple, we use Carrier Flagship, Archmage, and Spirit of the Forest combo with Quincy. So Spring, this is just subs showing off how good they are, so we're going to do a sub commander to tear through everything. Hearts and Darts, A Prime and Pod again for an easy win. Moon Landing becomes a little bit tricky due to walls, so in this case we're going to follow H2K's guide to use a wizard strat. A great strat since they can all see over walls for the first upgrade, on top path being Guided Magic. Haunted, fairly straightforward, another sub strat taking us home. Downstream, we take full advantage of single lane maps and use Tax for the win. Firing Range, Cracked, Streambed, and Rake are all done with Avatar Wrath. Another difficult-ish map being Shoots, you guessed it, Pod, and A Prime. And the last of our intermediate maps being Spice Islands, held up very well with Brickle and the Boat Game. Intermediate maps all finally done. Only 29 maps to go. Before this point, we could sort of get away with keeping auto start on and not really having to take things one round at a time. But now, on the advanced maps, we no longer have this luxury, and I'm already at my first roadblock with Castle Revenge. On Escape for Castle Revenge, he outlines a good strat. I end up losing quite a few times before really being able to pass and get my Spectre up. I managed to find out some other optimal placements, eventually managed to win, except what the red border?
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it.
I accidentally retrying last round somewhere and I forgot. Oh, this is going to be a problem. Eventually, we do the same thing all over again and win, and this already took 2.5 hours and I can't tell you why, I just sucked. Now onto Dark Path, a nice breath of fresh air, and we will use Frosty Mate's guide. Not very much to follow, but overall a very straightforward and clean strategy. We follow Yam's balloons to make it super easy for erosion. Very easy with global towers, and all the guides are a lot more recent, so check them out. Midnight Mansion and Sunger columns all use the same overall strat with Sada, some tax. Geared will use Since's guide. I realized that he's 100% right in that Axis of Havoc, which is also known as all the tier 5 snipers, is super OP, especially with the recent buff to how cheap bouncing bullets price is, and also nerfing perma-bruise cost. That made it super affordable very quickly. So we'll take advantage of this and essentially destroy Geared. Spillway, honestly, I don't know why it's an advanced map. Nevertheless, a welcome breath of fresh air, I guess. We'll also use Lazy No Micro's guide here. And another same for Cargo from Lazy No Micro, which definitely makes our life much easier. Interesting strat with a Bez, but I will say massive W for name, appreciating the No Micro, and Lazy is definitely a must. Cat Spawned was unnecessarily close, but relatively simple. With a little help from Alex. Thanks, Alex. I don't know who you are, but thank you. And same with Peninsula, again from Lazy No Micro. Off the coast, Cornfield, and Underground are pretty straightforward as well. I don't really use a guide here, just more Druid strats or just general, Cornfield you just use, Cornfield you just use Ultra Juggernaut and you're pretty much good to go. Now we come to the true final boss of this entire video, the most difficult maps in the game on the hardest game mode. The expert maps. So first we'll start with Glacial Trail. Glacial Trail, gotta hand it to my man Frosty Mate, coming in clutch, making this map ridiculously easy for Chimps. I strongly suggest you check out his guide, literally no BS, sounds like a cool dude and made it very easy to follow along. In fact, I know I complained a little bit earlier, this is probably the easiest Chimps that I've actually done so far, literally one and done, no errors. Now onto what people might consider one of the hardest maps in BTD6, Dark Dungeon. I fail quite a lot here. After a bunch of failed attempts from different guides, for some reason I just couldn't find a good guide. But eventually, I decided I'll use Unescape's guide. Unescape's guide was pretty okay. There's a lot of microing to do, but overall it was a very good strategy. And so eventually we make it all the way to round 98, where I barely fail. I cannot tell you how meticulous it was to follow, and this run itself took about like another 2 hours just for this one run, because you had to watch the video, try and understand every single moment, every single round, as there's things going on within the rounds, and having to lose after all that hard work is just downright depressing. But at this point, I decide I'm just going to do some of the easier expert maps, just get them out of the way for now, and Dark Dungeon was too painful. I'll revisit this at a later time. And sure enough, Frosty coming in clutch again. We're going to clear Flooded Valley with a similar strat, but then I decide to mix it up and just use Final Harmonic and Glaive Lord again. This combo literally shreds everything in the game. And Infernal is Infernal, it's very easy. After I finished playing these, I vividly remember that even though I'm 7 maps away, I had to sleep. I think it was like still in the middle of the afternoon, but my brain almost shut down because I couldn't think anymore. I decided to take a break, take a good night's rest, and the next day I'm back up and tackling these again. Ouch, we Blackbordered with Sleeping Axolotl. This one was relatively easy. So with a small surge of confidence, I decide to attempt Ravine. And damn, oh man. Similar to Dark Dungeon, there just ends up being fail after fail because a lot of the dart placements are pretty specific and the timing is very on point, let's say. But eventually, Sleeping Axolotl also comes in clutch again with a no micro and no ability Ravine run, which saves me, and that's one of the harder maps down. We run it back. We're gonna do Sanctuary this time. Unescape for Sanctuary, again clutch, one and done. Workshop actually ends up being quite simple. I ended up failing once, but Yams does a very clean auto start run. We Blackborder Muddy Puddles, eventually getting completed using another Sleeping Axolotl strat. Very clean, very concise. Helps a lot with the RNG, because at certain points, you have to eliminate as much of the RNG as possible. I think another thing that helps was that playing the map like 20 times you start to get a feel for how the map kind of works, and you sort of memorize all the tower placements. Bloody Puddles, Dorio saves us after a while. Lots of micro, but he helps make it super easy again, using the Glaive Lord strategy. And finally, after completing 11 out of the 12 expert maps, we revisit Dark Dungeon. After countless hours of playing, it's time to finish the final boss of this entire run. We eventually do it. So how long did all of this take? With the longest amount of time being spent on Chimps, Chimps took 38 hours, 21 minutes, and 37 seconds, adding this to our total for a total of 215 hours, 8 minutes, and 32 seconds. A total of 8 days, 23 hours, and 9 minutes. Literally 51 minutes away from being a whole 9 full days. Again, you can probably beat this quite easily with a lot less time. It's not that hard to do so. I feel I set the bar relatively low, but if you ever manage to beat my time, I applaud you, as this was a ridiculous feat that I wanted to achieve. As for how long it actually took me to film and record everything, when I finally finish everything, it's August 19th. About a month and maybe 2 weeks to fully complete this run. So the ultimate question is it worth it? Is it worth it to spend basically 9 days to complete every single medal to show off to all of your friends so that you can be proclaimed the greatest of all time? I'll leave that for you to decide. For now, don't forget to like and subscribe, and comment me any other crazy ideas you want me to complete. I'll see you all in the next video.